Hello, music fans. I'm here to talk about my favorite heavy metal albums that I think prog fans would enjoy. Because I'm a prog fan, that's kind of my main genre of music that I listen to is progressive metal and progressive rock. But I also like some of the classic heavy metal that's not necessarily progressive. So I put together this list of 13 albums that I think prog fans would like that are in the heavy metal genre. I didn't include any metalcore or alternative metal or melodic death metal or black metal or thrash metal. Those I might make separate videos for. This is kind of the traditional classic heavy metal stuff, like new wave of British heavy metal, stuff like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath. Those are a few spoiler alerts of the kinds of bands that you'll see on this list. So let's kick it off. This one I'm doing in a special way as well because I'm going to start it off with four in a row that are all from this year, 2021. So, yeah, because I started listening to heavy metal more this year. So I was only able to make, excuse me, wow. All right, I'm just going to keep rolling. I was only able to make a list of like a top nine uh, from before this year because I wanted to keep it to one album per artist, um, and there's only really like nine or so heavy metal artists that I listen to regularly. But there were four that I checked out this year that were pretty good, so I added those right to the bottom end of the list here. So kicking us right off, number 13 is going to be Parabellum by Yngwie Malmsteen. And Yngwie Malmsteen is kind of like a neoclassical shred guitarist, but this album has vocals, so is more of a heavy metal album, and it's got some pretty cool riffs and pretty cool stuff on it. So I put it on the list. My number 12 is by the band KK's Priest, which features KK Downing, who used to be in Judas Priest. So it's a very similar sound to Judas Priest. It's not quite as good as Judas Priest. So the album's called Sermons of the Sinner from this year. And yeah, really catchy riffs, great guitar solos. It's very cheesy. The lyrics in here are pretty cheesy and cringy, but if you could look past that and you just want to headbang to some good riffs, this is a good album. And my number 11 is by a band called Unto Others. They used to be called Idle Hands, but they had to change their name for, I don't know, trademark reasons or something. And the album that they released this year is called Strength. And it's very, very catchy, really melodic, has some pretty cool riffs. It's kind of like doomy and gothic, but it's very cool. And the last one from this year that I'm adding onto the list is my number 10 by the band Accept, and it's called Too Mean to Die. And they're a German heavy metal band. And this sounds kind of like Judas Priest meets AC/DC. Very, very catchy vocals, cool riffs, nice guitar solos. It's a good album. But now let's get into the top nine. Let's get into the really cool stuff. The stuff that's a bit older than just this year. So my number 9 top heavy metal album from the perspective of me being a prog fan is The Warning by Queensryche, and this is their first album from 1984. They went on to be a progressive metal band, and maybe this album can kind of be considered progressive metal. I think there might be the odd time signature change here, some weird odd time stuff, but it doesn't really sound like progressive metal yet. I think it's still more like traditional heavy metal. It sounds a lot like Iron Maiden, but you can see it kind of moving in that direction. So I think prog fans would like this one, The Warning by Queensryche, their very first album. I would put other Queensrÿche albums on here, but there are other albums that are better than this. I would actually say kind of cross the line into prog metal already, so don't really qualify for the list because they're too prog for this heavy metal list. And my number 8 is by Steve Vai, another guitar virtuoso, kind of like Yngwie Malmsteen, who's on this list. But this one, like the Yngwie Malmsteen one, also features vocals, and the vocals on here are by Devin Townsend, who's an excellent vocalist. Yeah, it's a heavy metal album, really good guitar playing, good vocals by Devin Townsend. I think it's one that everyone should check out. Steve Vai, Sex and Religion from 1993. And next up, I have a legendary one here from Ozzy Osbourne, and it's Blizzard of Oz, the debut studio album from him, his debut solo album. He was in Black Sabbath, but then he left to pursue a solo career. Blizzard of Oz is from 1980, features songs like I Don't Know, Crazy Train, Goodbye to Romance, Suicide Solution, Mr. Crowley. Like every song on here is just really awesome stuff. Legendary riffs and guitar solos of Randy Rhoads on here. Yeah, it's an excellent album I had to put on the list. My number 6 heavy metal album for prog fans is from Iron Maiden, and it's the album Brave New World from 2000. Might not be most people's top Iron Maiden choice, but it is for me. I think the vocals here are really catchy. I think this featured the return of Bruce Dickinson after he had left, and after they made the 2 Blaze Bayley albums, which to me are my least favorite Iron Maiden albums, are the 2 Blaze Bayley ones. But when Bruce came back, there was some energy back into the band. Brave New World, great album. Every song on here has really catchy choruses. Some of the songs, they have this like long and epic feel to them that I think prog fans would like as well. Really cool lead, dueling lead, harmonized guitars. I highly recommend it. On my number 5, we go to the oldest album on this list from the originators, the founders of heavy metal, Black Sabbath. This is Paranoid from 1970. And I gotta say, I don't really like the song Paranoid. To me, it's my least favorite song on this album, but I really like the album Paranoid. I like War Pigs on here, Iron Man, pretty much everything else on here except Paranoid. I don't know, maybe it's just Paranoid's overplayed. I kind of find it irritating. Like the riff is a bit repetitive, and I don't like the vocal melody because it's kind of like monotone, staying on one note for a really long time. Yeah, I find Paranoid to be an annoying song, but a great album. My number 4 is by Megadeth, and it's the album Euthanasia. And now Megadeth is typically a thrash metal band, but I'd say this album is more on the heavy metal side, and that's what Wikipedia says as well, because they focus less on thrashy riffs, and it's a different kind of riff. They slow it down a little bit. They're a lot catchier here. They have way catchier choruses on this album, and for me, this is my favorite Megadeth album. I also really love Rust in Peace. Rust in Peace is my second favorite, but it's more thrash. But this one's really cool. I love the catchy chorus of the song Family Tree, Train of Consequences, A Tout le Monde, all these songs, Blood of Heroes, they're all really, really catchy. Elysian Fields, highly recommend this for great riffs, great solos, catchy choruses. That's pretty much everything on this list. It kind of has great riffs, great guitar solos, catchy choruses. That's the kind of stuff that I like in heavy metal. And my number 3 is Painkiller by Judas Priest. Oh, I think I forgot to grab my props because I'm pretty sure I have this one. Gotta go grab it. seen behind the scenes in this video. This is a very unprofessionally done one, but here we go. Painkiller by Judas Priest, my number 3 heavy metal album that I think prog fans would enjoy. And my favorite song on here is the opening track, Painkiller. Of course, the drum intro on here is great, the riff's great, the solos are great. Every song on this album is just so catchy. It really hits those 3 points that I was saying. Great riffs, great solos, catchy choruses. That's how you do traditional heavy metal. And this is from the year 1990. Now my top 2, people are going to say, how are you going to outdo? You had Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, and Iron Maiden already. Who are you going to put above those? This might be a bit of blasphemy, but I have some more modern bands as my 1 and 2 here. My number 2 heavy metal album for prog fans is by the band Mastodon, and the album's called The Hunter. And now Mastodon is typically a prog metal band, but I don't think this is a prog metal album. It's more of a heavy metal album. Their album before this, Crack the Sky, was a prog metal album, and then this one kind of went more simplified, shorter songs. Like every song on here is between 2 and 6 minutes. There's no epics. There's not a lot of, there might be the odd time signature change, but there's not a lot of that going on. There's a lot of just like verse chorus song structure, so it's not exactly prog. They do have some prog influences on here, but The Hunter is more of a heavy metal album. It's really catchy, great riffs, great solos, catchy choruses, as with everything on here. So highly recommend it. And then my number 1 is a pretty unique album. It's Avenged Sevenfold, their self-titled album. Now this is a heavy metal album, and there's a lot of variety on here. That's why I think prog fans will like it. There's like a country song, Dear God, to close off the album. It's like a country rock ballad with some like slide guitar and country sounding guitar solo. There's a kind of like a demonic Broadway musical type song called A Little Piece of Heaven. That's the second last song, which is my favorite song on the album. Very creative, has a lot of horns, really catchy. There's a song on here that has most songs on here have great guitar riffs, great guitar solos, catchy choruses. There's songs on here that use auto-tune, like the song Lost, but then a lot of songs that just let the raspy vocals of M Shadows go without pitch correction. There's Gunslinger, which kind of starts with a little bit of a country twang, but then picks up and becomes a heavy metal song. And of course, the catchy songs like Almost Easy, Scream, Afterlife, Critical Acclaim. Every song on here really solid. So that is my recommendation for top heavy metal album from the perspective of a prog fan. Hope you found some stuff on here that you can enjoy. And yeah, this has been a wild ride of a video with a sneeze and a trip back to the CDs to pick out some props, but hope you still enjoyed watching it. And my next list like this that I'm going to make, I'm not sure what it'll be for sure, but I'm thinking about making top 13 metalcore albums for prog fans, maybe alternative metal albums for prog fans, and considering things like melodic death metal, black metal, thrash metal. Let me know what genres you want to see some recommendations from, and I'm going to dive into some of them. I don't know everything about every genre. As you can see, I've only just scratched the surface of heavy metal here, because the genres that I really know in depth are prog metal and prog rock, but I like to explore other genres and find what I like in them. So let me know if you have any genres you want to suggest that I make a video for, and I'll let you know what I've listened to that I think people will like. Till next time, peace out.